Hi aspirants, welcome to the weekly current affairs discussion for science and technology and some miscellaneous topics as well. For this week, the first topic is going to be XE. So what is this XE? It is one of the sub-variant of COVID-19 Omicron variant. So within this Omicron variant, XE is a sub-variant. So, and it has not been found in India until now. One case was reported in Maharashtra, but again it is not sure whether it falls under this XE variant. So generally we know that the Omicron variant, it has two sub-variants. One is BA1 and the other one is BA2. Now this XE is a recombinant variant. This means it contains the mutations found in BA1 and also BA2. Combination of BA1 and BA2 together forms this XE variant. So among this BA1 and BA2, we know that BA1 is very much more transmissible and BA2 is not as much transmissible as at BA1, but it has more efficiency. But even that more efficiency compared to BA1, it is more, but it is not much efficient to cause a huge pandemic or something. And so far we have not found these variants to be very severe as well. Now generally recombinant, the word recombinant means variants of virus that contain mutation characteristics of two or more variants. And this XE, it is said to be, it could be about 10% more transmissible than this BA2. But until now, there's no such problem about this. You just have to know what is XE. It is a subvariant of Omicron. And the other one is, what does this recombinant, the word, mean? So this is what could be a question. The second topic for today is from the BrahMos missile. So what is the context? It's in news because we know that we have for the first time sold this missile to Philippines, and the defense minister of Philippines, they have asked explanation from the Indian counterpart regarding the missile system that by mistake fell into Pakistan. So the question is, what was the reason for this? Was there any technical problem with the missiles? So they are skeptical over that the missiles manufactured in India, do they have some technical problems? Do they go and fall somewhere where they are not meant to be fallen? So, but on the Indian side, they have said, no, there was no any technical issue. It was a man issue here. It was a man-made tech problem here, not any technical issue. That is the context here. So, we have to know certain things about BrahMos missile as well, because nowadays there have been certain changes made to BrahMos missile, because now we have got the opportunity to increase the range. And this BrahMos missile, it gets its name from, on India side, Brahmaputra, the river Brahmaputra, and the river Moskva from Russia, because we know this is a joint project by India and Russia. And it is being built by a combination of two companies. From India side, it is the DRDO. And from Russia side, it is the Machino-Stroyenia company. And it can be fired from warships, submarines, and the Sukhoi 30 fighter jets as well, apart from being fired from land, which is also can be a mobile system. It can be carried over something like this in a truck, and it can be launched from these mobile structures. So now, if you have been watching closely the Ukraine-Russia war that's going on now, why Russia is not able to have a air superiority over Ukraine? The one reason for that is the defense system of Ukraine. Though comparatively the number of aircrafts or the number of missiles which Russia have are much more than Ukraine, until now they have not been forming any air superiority over Ukraine. That is because the missile systems that are mobile in Ukraine. So first you have to destroy these anti-missile systems, in anti-missile or anti-aircraft, both together. For example, the S-400 that we purchased recently, that is an anti-missile and anti-aircraft system, right? So similarly, Ukraine have their own anti-missile and anti-aircraft defense systems which keep moving. So it is very difficult to find them and target them and hit them. So that is why we have been hearing in news that some Russia's aircraft have been shot down and so on, right? So BrahMos becomes like that. BrahMos also becomes lethal here because it can be carried on mobile transport, and apart from that it can be fired from warships, submarines, Sukhoi 30 fighter jets and so on. And particularly the submarines become so important because here it becomes a retaliatory warfare. In case if a country hits India with a nuclear weapon, so once a country is hit with nuclear weapon, they cannot retaliate. But the problem here is if that particular country has missile systems which can be launched from submarines, they could be launched from submarines. So no country will dare to hit a country which has missile systems which can be launched from submarines. So because they know that definitely there will be a retaliatory attack. Now certain details about this BrahMos. The first stage is solid propellant and the second stage is liquid ramjet. This you have to know for sure. Definitely such questions are asked in UPSC. Now this cruise missile like BrahMos are type of systems known as standoff range weapons. So BrahMos and such cruise missiles are called as standoff range weapons. So which can be fired from a range sufficient to allow the attacker to evade defensive fire from the adversary. Sorry. So why are these standoff range weapons very important? Because they can be fired from a range sufficient to allow the attacker to evade defense fire from the adversary. So it can easily evade the opposite side's attack. And they have an extended range of around 400 kilometers now. Earlier it was just 290 kilometers because we were not able to increase it beyond 300 kilometers because of international treaties. Now since India has also become a signatory, they are able to increase it, and now we are having a range of 400 kilometers. And the next stage development is already going on where the BrahMos missiles range is going to be 1000 kilometers, and we already know BrahMos is the fastest cruise missile in the world. And think when it is going to have a 1000 kilometer range, it's going to be a huge benefit for India. And the land attack version of BrahMos, it has a capability of 2.8 Mach speed, that is 2.8 times the speed of sound. And now the newly developed version, it is going to have 5 Mach speed, which is one. So just by having this 2 Mach speed, India has this BrahMos missile, which is the world's fastest cruise missile, and think almost double the speed how fast these missiles are going to be. And the submarine launched version, it can be launched from around 50 meters below the waters. So some details like this are really important. What is the speed, what is the range, and from how much bottom range the submarine launched missiles can be launched, and these details are important. Try to know them. The next topic is about the virus. So generally about the virus, so what is we are going to have generally about the virus? Because recently these viruses have got a very bad name among humans, thinking that they are great invaders, they are the ones who cause huge pandemics, they are the enemies of human life. That's what viruses are thought to be known of. But actually very few viruses are enemies of human. Mostly they are helpers, and they have been living on the earth like some few millions of years before humans have arrived the earth. And yet they have coexisted with the humans, and if at all there is some trouble because of viruses to human, it is because of man-made, and we are going to see what are those. Before that, we will see some of the good viruses. Those viruses which are called as bacteriophages. So from the word itself you will get the name. They are viruses who are something against bacteria. So oftenly they are known as simply as phages, that's it. And these viruses are those which infect and kill bacteria. And in the ocean, if you see, these phages are the most significant regulators of bacteria population. Now these viruses, that is these phages, facilitate microbial creatures that produce half the oxygen in the world to survive in the ocean. Because if these phages are not controlling the bacteria, those creatures which are producing half the needed oxygen for the world would be dead, and you can imagine what would happen. And these phages are present in our digestive system, respiratory system, reproductive tracts, mucous membrane linings, and also function as barriers against invading bacteria. So thereby they prevent infection to all these organs as well. And apart from this, these bacteriophages are known to treat sepsis. They are nowadays they are cultured and they are being used to treat sepsis as well. And apart from this, something very important here is, now there is a new interest on these phages because genetically engineered bacteriophages are used in the treatment of drug resistant infections. For the past 3 or more years, I hope you know, this drug resistant bacteria, which are also called as superbugs, these are a huge threat to the entire human community because we are running out of antibiotics. Any antibiotic you give, these bacteria have become immune to them now and they cannot be treated at all. But nowadays, new invention says that if these bacteriophages can be little bit altered genetically, they can be used to control even this drug resistant infections or drug resistant bacteria. And viruses such as the latent herpes virus, pegivirus C, when they are present in our body, they protect us from harmful cousins. So what does that mean? These viruses protect us from other viruses, other virus infections. And antigens produced by the latent herpes virus assist the immune system in identifying and targeting cancer cells. All these could be important prelims questions. Whether viruses can be used to treat cancer. Post probably we would think no, but actually they can be used to treat even cancer. And pegivirus C, it is also known as GBVC virus. It is a virus that does not cause any symptoms. That's it, doesn't cause any trouble to us. That's what it means. But multiple studies have found that HIV and Ebola patients who are infected with this GBC virus, they live longer than ones who are not infected. So that is, if a person has HIV or Ebola and they also have this pegivirus in them, the effect of HIV or Ebola is very much consistently reduced and they are able to live longer. And the next one, why we have infections? Because of these viruses. And nowadays why these are increasing? It's because frequent contact between humans and animals, usually by human intrusion into their habitats, increases the risk of these zoonotic viral transmissions. So what are zoonotic viral transmissions? Those viral transmissions which happen from animals. So if you see even this coronavirus, we are suspecting that it came from bats. It's because there is too much intrusion into the animal life by humans. So that is why those animals are resistant to these viruses. But when those viruses are transmitted to us, we are not resistant to them. We get into trouble and it even ends up in pandemic like which happened recently. And migration of species as a result of climate change. When animals migrate, they carry those viruses and they also transmit them. So when they start to transmit from one huge forest to another forest, on the way, they could easily transmit these to the humans. So if a question is asked, are climate change a reason for viral infections? Yes. Climate change can accelerate or can cause virus infections because those animals which carry these viruses can easily transmit them when they migrate. And something you have to know is viruses in the body is almost 10 times the number of bacteria. So already human body have lot of viruses, but they are not harmful. Only very few viruses are harmful. And now if no action is taken to address the climate change, it is said that about 1 billion people might be exposed to mosquito-borne diseases for the first time by 2080. And people who are living in Tamil Nadu, we know very well how much mosquitoes torture us. And now if climate change is not controlled, we are going to be tortured more. And by 2080, 1 billion people are going to be exposed to mosquito-borne diseases directly. And this could be not a prelims question, but this could be used as a very valid point in your mains exams. And something related to viruses, the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, simply called IPBES. So what is this IPBES? It is an independent intergovernmental body. So UPSC is known to ask, they will give a particular organization and they'll ask whether it is an NGO, whether it's an intergovernmental organization, all such things. So this is an independent but an intergovernmental body that is independent. It means that it is not attached to United Nations or anything like that. And why it is, what's the job of them? It is to strengthen the science policy interface. That is, the governments make policies or scheme, and that should be related to scientific problems. And that is why they are monitoring if a scheme is made, is it scientifically sound, it is good, or it is going to cause any trouble. That's what they are trying. And why is it done? So that biodiversity and ecosystem services are sustainable. So you make a scheme, you put an act, and because of that, if biodiversity is damaged, so this IPBES is taking care of that. They are the watchdogs here to see if any scheme or any policies made are in par with science. It is not a UN body, but at the same time, the United Nations Environmental Program provides secretariat services alone. And any state that's member of the United Nations is eligible to become IPBES membership. So the question is whether every UN member should become the member of IPBES. It's not like that, but they are eligible to become the members. And the headquarters is in Bonn. And they even release a report called as IPBES report. This IPBES Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services is the most comprehensive ever completed such report. The report assesses changes over the past 5 decades. This could be an important data. So they assess for the past 50 years, providing a comprehensive picture of the relationship between economic development pathways and the impact on nature. So in the name of development, are we creating any impact on nature? That is being investigated and given in this particular report. And it also offers a range of possible scenarios for the coming decade. So you have made policies, you have made acts, you have made development, but that is affecting nature, it is affecting environment. So what can be done better later on? That also they suggest. The next topic is something miscellaneous topic from art and culture. It is Guru Nabadas. The context is why it's in news, because Punjab government has announced a gazetted holiday on the birth anniversary of Guru Nabadas. And he is a 16th century saint. He is a 16th century saint born in 1537. So you can remember as Nabadas is something like contemporary of Humayun. Actually, he is the contemporary of Humayun. He was born in Telangana. He belonged to a community called Mahasha community, which is also called the Doom community or the Dumna community, and so on. And the people belonging to this region, they have a name also. And here his gurus, who were his gurus? His gurus were Agardas and Keeldas. And this Mahasha community is one of the scheduled caste community. It's a very important data. They are belonging to the scheduled caste community, a guru from a scheduled caste community, and for that guru, the Punjab government has announced a gazetted government holiday as well. And people from this community are also known as Nabadasyas. These community people are called as Nabadasyas because they follow Guru Nabadas, and they are called as also as Nabadasyas, and they are known for making bamboo baskets. Guru Nabadas, he wrote a book. We always know when there is a Bhakti saint, they always ask about his book. Got a book called Bhagat Mal in the year 1585, and it has the life history of around 200 saints. And they also celebrate a festival called Kullu Dasara. Okay, and this festival is celebrated on the directions of Guru Nabadas. He has instructed his people to celebrate this festival called as Kullu Dasera. So all these informations are really important because in the previous year you saw in prelims as well as in mains question, mostly we have questions from Bhakti saints. Always we have questions from Bhakti saints, and this has been in news as well. A special holiday has been announced. It means this question is a probable one. So why Punjab has announced? We said he was born in Telangana, right? But why Punjab is announcing a holiday? It's because he used to visit a village called Pandori in the Gurdaspur district, where people of Doom community stay. So Doom community people, they are also found in Jammu Kashmir as well, and in Punjab as well, Himachal Pradesh, in all these places. So always we should know anything about tribal names. If any tribal name is coming in the news, we have to know them. So Doom community, they belong to Telangana, but apart from that, they are also found in Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, and Jammu Kashmir. They are belonging to the scheduled caste. All these things you have to know. And recently, a reclining Lord Vishnu statue has been discovered. It is 1000 years old sandstone sculpture, and it was restored by Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. Try to know what this is. What is this? Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. Try to learn about it as well. And it is situated actually in the Bandhavgarh National Park in Madhya Pradesh. And this statue is popularly, it is called as Shesh Shaya, and it belongs to the Kalchuri period. Who are these Kalchuris? They were 8th century rulers in India, and they were the feudatories of Rashtrakutas. So this is how mostly ancient India and medieval India questions are framed. We know that Rashtrakutas come under medieval India in the tripartite struggle. We also know that even the Rajputs are the descendants of Rashtrakutas and Gujjar Pratiharas, and this Kalchuri period, the rulers, Kalchuri rulers are feudatories of Rashtrakutas. Okay, so try to know all the details about Rashtrakutas also when you go through your medieval India for your exams, because it's come in news. The next news is about the Lingaraja temple. It's in news because the Odisha state government plans to make a landmark of Lingaraja temple. They are trying to make some changes, or they are going to make repairs in this temple, but the central government is opposing it because it is against the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958. So the Home Affairs has said several sections of the proposed ordinance made by the Odisha government is in conflict with this AMA-SR Act. The central government has also told the Odisha government that its ordinance to bring this particular 11th century Lingaraja temple in Bhubaneswar is associated temples under a special laws outside the legislative competence of the state legislature, because this temple is under the cover of the Archaeological Monuments Act, and so the state government cannot do anything to this. And apart from that, the ordinance is in conflict with the rules laid down under the AMA-SR Act. So there are a lot of conflict, and all the conflict is against this AMA-SR Act. So what is this particular ordinance? The Lingaraja temple, which is the largest temple in Bhubaneswar as well, it was constructed by King Jajati Keshari. It was constructed by King Jajati Keshari in the 10th century and completed by King Latent Keshari. So you can see here it was started by one king and finished by another king. So we know another such monument, right? It was Qutub Minar. It was started by Qutbuddin Aibak and it was finished by Iltutmish. So similarly here, the Lingaraja temple, it was from the 10th century and almost the same period you can see here. And it was started by Jajati Keshari, but it was finished by Lalatindu Keshari in the 11th century. In 2019, the Odisha government had announced a development plan for the temple and this temple is also called, this project to improve this temple is also called Ekamra Kshetra development plan. So the Odisha government calls it as Ekamra Kshetra development plan. This was actually intended to be on similar lines of the special act which manages the affairs of the Jagannath temple in Puri, which is one of the 4 dhams in India. There are 4 dhams in India and one of that dham is this Puri Jagannath temple. This Puri Jagannath temple is being maintained by the Odisha government, and similarly it wants to bring this Lingaraj temple also under this ordinance, but the central government says it is against the Archaeological Monuments Act. So in a letter to the Odisha government's office, the ministry has pointed out that the state government has already violated the AMA-SR Act around the Lingaraja temple by building modern structures. So we know that for 100 meters around monument under this Archaeological Monuments Act, no modern structures can be built. But already the Odisha government has violated this, but by this ordinance you are violating it more. And since this ordinance covers 12 centrally protected monuments, including the Lingaraja temple and also 3 tanks, it was outside the legislative competence of the Odisha's state legislature. And another clause which facilitates special darshan on payment of fee was also found in violating of the existing Archaeological Act, because the temple management clearly stipulates the public would have free access to the monument. So you cannot charge any fees to visit the Lingaraja temple. But the new ordinance makes a point that there is a fees for special darshan, as how it is collected in many other temples. This is also going to be against the AMSR Act, and because of all these reasons, this ordinance is not going to be allowed by the central government. So some details about the Puri Heritage Corridor project, and it was started in 2016. The Puri Heritage Corridor project was actually unveiled, but in the year 2019, to transform the holy town of Puri into an international place of heritage. So this Puri Heritage Corridor project, so what is the idea of it? They are trying to transform this place called Puri to an international place of heritage. And apart from that, it also announced a 200 crore package for the development of Sambalpur Ma Samaleshwari temple. So Sambalpur's Ma Samaleshwari temple, this particular Ma Samaleshwari temple is also included in this Puri Heritage Corridor project. So that's it for today from Science and Tech and Miscellaneous. Please revise through this, and the monthly magazine for Catalyst, current affairs magazine Catalyst is also out. Please download it and go through it. It will be a good revision for your last month's current affair. Don't miss monthly current affair revisions. Of course, you have to see your current affairs every single day. Apart from that, we are giving you these videos to have a better understanding of current affairs, and then every month you have to just go through the monthly Catalyst magazine to have a revision of your current affairs. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends. Let's learn and grow together. Thank you. Jai Hind.